You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Okay, let's start the water board meeting for December 7th, 2020. A motion to accept the meetings the last minute.
I'll make it.
The last meeting. Motion to pay the bills. Well, I didn't even do that one. A motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Nice.
Aye. A motion to pay the bills.
I'll make it. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're gonna go right away to 8, right? And then you got, hold on
Yeah.
1 second.
We go to 8.
Which one? Who's here though that we have to go over first? I can't see.
Mike Cozen and Brian Watts.
And he's on 8. Okay.
Yeah, they're all together, right?
And that's the West Village. Okay.
West Village Watts.
Okay, all they're looking for is approval for the water hookup, correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So I need a motion to approve the water hookup for the West Loss pending DOT permit and engineering approval and review.
I'll make it.
Second? Yes, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mary.
I'm sorry, point of information. I believe it's also pending sign off on the site plan from the planning board.
Well, thank you. You're the best.
Son, have you looked into this, John, yet? Have you got the plans?
I have not seen the plans myself, no. I can get them from Christian, but I haven't seen the plans.
so if I can butt in here,
Sure.
this was all discussed at planning board meetings, and this is actually one of the conditions to fulfill the resolution on the site plan. Village engineer Christian discussed all this, and they agreed at one of the meetings that there was enough flow and whatever we needed for the connection. We were basically told that this was a sort of a formality because you guys needed to vote on it. I was under the understanding that there was no more plans or meetings to be looked at regarding this. The gentleman who said he hasn't seen the plans, I'm not familiar with who he is. Maybe I can help fill him in.
I just need to look at the plans to make sure that the materials that you're proposing are correct.
Is Brian Watts listening, our engineer?
I am listening.
Okay, Brian, is there any way you can help this gentleman with his question?
I need to see the plans, so if you could send them to me, that would be great.
That's fine. I can send plans to whomever may desire or need them.
Okay.
Would you like a hard copy, or is a PDF copy sufficient?
PDF is fine. You can email it to me. I can just look. Again, we're just looking to make sure that you're using the appropriate materials for the connection.
That's fine.
Was that something that was already established at the planning board meeting?
Shouldn't have been, no.
What was that, Mike?
The materials that we were using for the connection, I thought that was something that was already established at the meetings, at the planning board.
I think the water board has something more to say.
That's us.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I know that there were a few conditions that had to be met. This was one of them prior to the site plan being signed off on. So if all the other conditions that the planning board established have been met, then once John sees the plans and everything from a material standpoint works with us, then I don't believe there are other issues.
So we're gonna approve this, but it's gonna be pending the engineer's approval, of course.
Full prevention.
And all that, and it's gonna be DOT permit, and then the planning board will sign off on it, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the DOT work permit that we have a conditional permit from already?
The DOT has issued a conceptual approval of the work. We won't be able to get the actual permit until you have a contractor who's going to be doing this so that we can have the appropriate insurances with the DOT so they could issue the permit.
Just send that along with the PDF of the site plans and that'll check that box.
So Brian, this is Ken, the operator. So I'm just curious, what is going to happen with the existing buildings that are already there?
The existing buildings are going to be torn down.
So we need to figure out what happens to those water service lines. What happens to those?
We were intending to remove them. That the new service would be located in the general vicinity of the existing service, so that we could remove them at the same time we install a new one.
Well, you know that there's quite a separation in regards to the service lines themselves, so that's not going to be possible. And when you say remove, what does that mean when you remove them? How are you removing?
Let me see if we had a detail on this. Let me see here. Don't know if we actually put any kind of abandonment detail in the plans. We can abandon them if you guys have a particular procedure or materials you would like. I can add that to the plan, no problem.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to want a cap on the corporation with a copper plug for both of them.
That's fine. Absolutely. I'm just trying to see. I want to say Christian had something. Forgive me. It's been a little while. I thought he had us existing. It's the existing sewer lateral. Existing water services removed to them remain. The corporation turned off and a copper plug inserted. That was the note we had on the plan. I can elaborate that any way you'd prefer.
No, I mean, that's fine. I just want you to be aware that the services are separated from one another. It's not like they're close, and that you're going to shut both of them off and then make your wet tap from there.
Yes, yes.
Meaning basically you're going to need to open up the water main on three
locations.
Two different locations at least.
That's fine.
Why do you say open it up at two different locations?
There's different lines going to the main. You have to abandon them. You have to expose each separate line.
To abandon and then to connect.
No, because they're smaller lines than what you're intending on using.
I believe they're probably 3/4 inch lines or so there now.
Yes.
Mike, we need. This is a bigger building with some elevation. We're proposing a 2-inch water service to this, so we're going to expose the existing service lines where they may be.
Right.
Remove them fully. We're going to cap. Turn off the. We're going to cap. Plug the existing connection, and we're just going to wet tap an entirely new 2-inch.
I understand that. So we're talking about twice. I understand.
Okay.
What size is that fire line gonna be? 6 inch?
I think it says right here.
Does it?
Or
Probably
2 inch.
2-inch fire line?
No,
No.
it's gotta be 6.
Determined fire service line would be sprinklers. It doesn't say, but
What size is that fire line gonna be?
We had at this point. There's not a finalized sprinkler design, and I would anticipate it to be at least a 4-inch, maybe 6-inch.
I'd like to see.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I would like to see a 6-inch for the fire line.
That's
Is
fine,
it
we'll
a
call it
three-
6 inch.
Is it a 3-story building or 4?
4.
It is 4.
So, yeah,
On
I
the
mean, I'd like
elevation
to
of
see
West
a
Main.
6-inch line. Is that gonna be a wet system in there or dry? For standpipe?
If there's any preference, we can go with either one. At this point, again, the sprinkler hasn't been fully designed yet. We usually farm that out, if you will, to a separate firm from us.
So you do have a 6-inch on the plan for the water or fire department or fire line?
Should be up here.
At this time, it's called out as fire line to be sized during sprinkler, but I mean, if your preference is just to have a 6-inch, I can modify the plans now and we'll just go with a 6-inch right from the get-go.
I would
Sounds
like
good to me.
Yeah,
6 inch? Let's go with
6 inch, 6 inch, yeah, please.
And the domestic line will be a separate 2-inch tap, or are you gonna come off the fire line with the tap?
I don't think,
Again, if you have any particular preference, I've done it both ways for various projects. Right now, we're showing a separate line.
Okay.
It says on the map.
Okay, we'll have, John Zarowski, the village engineer, take a look at it for water, and, we'll go with that.
So we're looking at, okay, John, engineer, look at water, whether we want separate service
yeah,
lines or to T
connections on that, do you know?
potable off fire.
Just got the damn button. I want to stand by it. So this thing right here. But what is there? It shows like what each thing is. Keep turning the page, now just turn it that way. I think we can tell JB the other way.
Is there any reason why we couldn't tee off the fire line for the potable for the building?
Yeah, I think it's code that you cannot. I think the fire line needs to be separate.
we'd have to ask John. I don't know the current code.
Yeah, talk to John, let John.
That's
do
up to
it.
John. Joe, you have to ask that to John. I don't know the original code anymore.
Yeah, there's
Fire line code, I don't know plumbing code.
I've done it both ways, so long as the domestic and the fire can be isolated outside the building. I've done so essentially that if for some reason the potable water is shut off, it doesn't impact the fire line. So I come off with the fire line to an appropriate valve, then into the building, and then the fire line would have its own separate gate valve. But again, I defer to you and your engineer and however whatever your preference is.
Let's have it set up as 2 lines, Brian. This way there's no questions. Sound good to everybody else?
Go again, I didn't hear you.
We're in agreement with that, 2 separate lines?
It's gonna be, I don't have a problem with it, but it's gonna be up to John's review. I don't know the current code on the sprinkler.
Right. I mean, I could see the dilemma with 1 line, but as 2 separate lines, it shouldn't be a question.
You guys got any other questions with this?
No.
You agree we'll leave it up to John's review?
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion on the board is allow the tie-in pending DOT permit finalization, engineering approval mainly, and then the planning board, which will sign off when this is done. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you're all set then. Just have your engineer call, leave the prints with John, we should be okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Lady.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone, for your time.
All right.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Kevin and Mary?
Mary, me, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I put Kevin and Mary, I don't know.
I call Kevin Mary sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
set. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mike.
Mary, are you in Florida?
I am. It's much warmer here.
Why don't we next month, we'll go to Florida and you come here. That'll be fair.
Well, why don't we all just come here and then, we can all share.
Be under water emergency, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'd look if you wanted to. No, it's not an emergency.
Water.
But I think the code, you can't have fire line and
I don't know,
domestic
John-
water
John
together.
was saying something.
Yeah, they went back and forth on that. Now they went down.
I don't know the current code.
Isn't that
Used to
one?
be they always wanted to separate.
Yeah.
Now
Should
they
be
wanna-
separate.
But now they want to chime in.
Too.
Sorry about that, guys.
That one's not separate down there, is it?
I don't think it is.
I
No,
don't think it is
The
either.
code
Yeah,
can
it's
be
separate.
changed.
That's separate.
Yeah, it's separate.
I think it's code.
no, the
No,
code's
it's separate.
in flux.
Gotta ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for, John. John.
I'm back. My computer,
There you are.
my computer just like went gone. Had to reload something, like it just blew out a fuse or something. I don't know. So, and of course I couldn't dial in because it didn't like my phone. Here I am.
John, remember the current code for the fire, if they could be if they have to be separate or they could be combined?
It depends on the fire code, the fire sprinkler code that they're following. If it's low-rise residential, that's going to be managed somehow, then it can be a separate line, which is how the one that's going in right now got through. But if this is going to be considered single or multifamily residential and is not going to have somebody watching it, then it should be off the same service tap. So the domestic should be off the same as the fire sprinklers, if it's a sprinklered building.
So when you do that, and let's just hypothetically say something goes wrong, there's a fire, the sprinkler heads, however many, let's say there's 15 in this building and they all pop.
Mhm.
That takes away, I mean, I know they're not going to be in the building using water at that time, but doesn't that affect the domestic water?
Yeah, but
I mean, let's just say something
I would hope
breaks.
somebody wouldn't be taking a shower when there's a fire breaking out, but
No, but let's say something breaks with the fire line or the domestic and now it knocks both of them out of service.
well, that's the idea with it having as a single one. If it gets knocked out of service, they won't be able to occupy the building either. Kind of thing is that they'll know that there's a problem that needs to be fixed. If they're separate lines and say the service line for the fire goes out and the domestic's still working, they're not going to know that the sprinklers aren't working unless it's monitored somehow,
Oh, okay.
which is why and again, there's an exception for that low-rise residential because that requires that somebody's actually monitoring that fire, that there's pressure in the fire line.
Okay.
So that's the only way you can get out of it, is there has to be some other way that indicates to the people in the building that there is or is not fire flow, so that the sprinklers work.
How recent of a code is this?
It's in my, I think it was a 2018 version. I think it's been around a little bit, but it's been around for a while. It's just the exception kind of surprised me on the
Yeah.
low-rise residential, but,
And
Because
it
I
doesn't
did-
matter. Got it.
no, it's just something in commercial buildings, it's kind of required that the domestic has to come off of the fire end of it because the fire line. But I mean, why would you put in two services? I mean, if you're putting in a single service, why would you not upsize it and just tap off of it for domestic anyway? Why would you make two separate taps? So,
Okay, thank you. Now, I wasn't sure. I remember we talked about it and that's what was my understanding. Okay.
right, yeah, there's, like I said, there's lots of ifs, ands, and buts in the sprinkler code and the AWWA code and the NFPA.
And it don't matter that it's commercial residential.
There is a difference, but
Because the
yeah.
downstairs is like 3,000 square feet, which assuming every floor above it is also 3,000 square
Yeah,
feet.
so in this situation, they're basically then, they're not under a strict residential rule, so then there's a different set of codes that would apply. And again, if they're bringing in a 2-inch line to serve everybody, which seems a little small, from what you're describing, that they should have the domestic tapped off of the same line as the sprinklers are. So if somebody closes the valve, everybody knows. Or if the line has a leak or breaks, everybody knows.
Okay, thank you.
Are we able to feed that line if we shut the water off? Let's hypothetically say we had to shut the water off, something goes wrong, can we still feed it?
If they put a Siamese on the building, you can feed that way, pressurize the building, but I don't know that they are. I haven't seen the plans yet, so I don't know what they're
Could
proposing.
put two, one on the front and one on the back.
Yeah, you can certainly ask for it.
Two.
If you
The
want,
parking lot's
I'll see if it's there and I
itself,
can
I think.
suggest it, but they like to cite code against me, so.
Right.
Well, you have to stretch the line.
I mean, that is alter versus putting in a fire pump. They can actually, I think, give you a Siamese connection, so you pressurize the building.
That's why I asked, is it gonna be wet or dry?
Yeah,
Because if it's dry, that means we're feeding it. If
right.
it's wet, that means if a head pops, it's off the village water and it will just flow until
Right.
plug it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll
In the
look into
building.
that when I actually see the plans. I'll look into that and I'll ask those questions. But like I said, I'm a little blind on this. Christian told me about it late last week, so that it was coming.
There is two.
One in the back, one
One in the
front.
back, one in the back
That's what
corner.
I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's in the back corner, so.
Yes, that's fine. Looking for the one in the back.
Yeah.
I figured there'd be two.
Mary, you had talked to Frank Riddle?
I spoke with Frank Rettel and forwarded the information. Marie included it in the package today. I forwarded it on to the other members. I didn't, get any indication whether we wanted them to come to the meeting or not, so I didn't ask him to come. He said he'd be available if we wanted any further explanation on it. I think he said, what did he say? He was looking for about 30,000 gallons a day? Trying to remember now.
What the heck is he doing?
Anticipated water demand down there. What's it got? 32,870 gallons per day. It's on the chart. 24, page 24. It's probably the last page in our package that we sent. They've got some multifamily, some apartments above commercial, some commercial space, the brewery. Their buildings along Route 9, so Better Tan and
That's that empty lot across the mall.
SS.
Oh, yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's where he owns.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, no, you can't do this.
I don't know.
We would have
We
been going
can't.
backwards.
Yeah,
No.
we can't do this at this time. We don't have enough?
Of what, water?
I don't know if this is the pertinent time to bring this up or not, but was anyone else aware that Lisa Cobb has indicated, and John, I'm looking for your weigh in on this, that the 4 buildings that we were working with Matt on up at the top of De La Verne has opted not to go with Village Water?
Good.
No, I didn't know that.
According to Lisa, she reported to the planning board the other day that they are no longer interested in acquiring water from the village, which means that something about sticking with the town. I don't know exactly what that means. I haven't been able to get clarification.
Which
that
one was
means
that,
whatever-
Mary?
I'm sorry,
Over in the driveway.
Which project was that?
up at the top of De La Verne, the one that was going to give us the $375,000 towards the water tank.
Those
Is
are
that-
two different, no, you're talking about two different projects here. The water
Okay,
tank
I'm
one is
sorry.
Yeah,
Nelson Ave.
you're talking about the one that's just inside the town.
Correct. The one on De La Verne was just a 7-lot subdivision, which is in the town of Poughkeepsie. So obviously they're going to connect to the town.
All right, so they're going to connect to the town. I'm sorry. Thank you.
But that's not the same as the one on.
Okay, all right. So we're
Nelson
not
Chan.
talking about the same use.
Yeah.
This commercial space that they're gonna do with this building, what is it gonna be? On the first floor of, next to the groundhog, does anybody know?
I didn't get into any kind of detail with him. I responded to his phone call to the office. He indicated that he was looking for water, see if they could use village water. I asked him to send the data, which is what he did. He said he would be happy to respond to any questions that the water
I don't know.
board and the water department had concerning it.
I don't know what Mike's putting in that one. I've gone to planning board meetings.
But he's selling it, so he
Yeah.
could tell you one thing and the new owner can do just the opposite.
Correct.
Well, are they even in the village proper, or is that the town on the other side of Route 9?
It's
That's
the
the
town.
town.
That's the town.
Right, okay,
They're not in the village.
right.
At this point, you don't have any water to give. No.
John,
That's a lot of water.
Yes.
do you see this, the page of how much water they were planning on using?
I did not see that. I'm still scrolling, because everything crashed. I'm trying to find all the stuff that I had open prior to the meeting.
Yeah, it's the last page on the agenda, 24.
I think we got
Yeah,
enough.
I haven't refound the agenda yet. Hang on a second.
Okay, they're asking for approximately 33,000 gallons per day.
And that's a 2-inch line they're proposing?
Now, this is something different. This is the,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So I haven't kept up with the,
yeah.
Have real-
Yeah. and yeah, my question is, do we have 30,000 gallons?
No,
Yeah, so
No.
not on one well for particularly.
Not till we're not even gonna.
You're still looking at properties in the village, so you would have to determine them before you gave to anything outside the village.
Right.
Right.
So I would think the proper response is, at this point in time, the village does not have the water to serve those.
Okay.
I don't
Yes,
speak-
you are
I don't speak
correct.
For anybody except.
No, you're correct.
You're correct. I'd go with
Oh,
that.
there it
We
is.
take
Finally.
care of our own before we take care of others.
The last residential
Well,
part
it's-
done, and then we can go from there.
Is in the village.
That's not in the village.
No?
That's across the street.
Right.
The mobile on Route 9,
It's vacant.
next to Fun Central.
so with that in mind,
Woodhill Green.
Yeah.
Mary, are we to notify Reddle? Do you want to do that? You want Marie to do that? How are we gonna?
I'll draft a letter to him on behalf of the board. I'll pass it by Pat or whoever wants to see it, and then I'll ask Marie to send it out.
Okay, perfect, thank
No,
you.
that's in the village.
Just,
I know.
very simply saying at this point in time, the village doesn't have the capacity for the water.
This is another property we're talking about.
Correct.
Maybe if they want to contribute toward the water filter plant,
Even then.
Well, even so, you need a backup. You need another well. You need.
That'd be.
well, we
another
could bring a well back online if we had the filter plant, the
Yeah,
iron.
then that would be a fair.
Hey, hit them up.
No, that's reasonable.
I
mean,
think so.
It'd be something,
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
have them
but you also,
contribute toward the
you know-
water filter plant.
right? This is what I was saying,
You know what I fucking hate?
putting higher tanks in.
I don't like it.
Okay, very soon. If you want to hold it off the next minute, think about it. but-
Well, honestly, at this point,
I think we've been
We
putting it
just-
off too long.
we just
Why don't
definitely.
we just send a letter to them and say,
Like, at this point right now, our concern is there's a leak there. And we just need to have a direction on what it is that you want to do. The last time you guys voted
Mhm.
not to do it anymore,
Right.
the very next day,
You're
we
up
found
there.
a leak over there.
We give them no
And then
letter.
it was, well, it's this. And now it's something else. So
Because
you
we
guys
did not
gotta
give 'em a
finally
letter.
make a
Hold
decision.
on, you did not give them a letter. You didn't give them a chance. You gotta give them a chance. If that's the way the board wants to vote, we'll do that right
They
now.
still have not received a letter.
They have not received a letter because all.
I
the
thought
COVID
Matt
stuff-
was taking care of this.
Matt retired.
I don't, then,
So that's
then,
one of the things that's lagging that we gotta.
then why don't we just go right back to the letter? Did we ever ask for the easement
Yes, that was asked and we couldn't.
in a letter?
Yes, and we couldn't get them all.
And they said no. The guy in the corner
One
said
guy
no.
said no.
then good. Then
He's
we
the
don't
key,
fix
he's the
it.
key guy.
He's the key.
Good,
guy.
then we don't fix it. When it breaks, he can pay for it.
Mary, are you up to speed on all this?
I don't think I am.
Who's the best to give a speech?
Kenny.
So here's the situation, Mary,
Okay,
is we have some houses on Mizzier Avenue. There's 4 houses on Mizzier Avenue and 1 house on Prospect Street.
okay,
And the water line that feeds those houses comes off of Prospect Street. It's 2-inch copper.
okay,
Prior to anybody's property, there's a 2-inch curb stop, a shutoff. And
okay,
then it goes from that shutoff behind the people's yards. There's a shutoff for each one of the houses, but it's in their property in their backyards.
okay,
So over the years, whenever anything ever broke or leaked there, the village would always go in and fix it, but we have no easements to do so.
okay,
There's a lot of risk and a lot of possible issues related legally to
mm-hmm,
doing that.
mm-hmm,
So it's finally come to a head now where what is the best approach for the village to take in which to eliminate those issues?
yeah. So I think when I came in, somebody was saying that we've gotten easements for some, but not all.
No, you have no.
You have 0 easements.
Okay.
You requested easements, and
Yeah.
according to what I'm understanding, it was in writing. I didn't even know it was in writing.
Okay,
So there is definitely one gentleman on the corner of Mizzier and Prospect that has no interest in an easement. So basically, that's the end of the project. So
because
now it's-
without all 3, we can't do any.
without all 5, we
Without all
can't
5,
do
okay.
anything at all.
Okay,
So, it's just a matter of what approach
We
does
set 'em
the
up and push the
water
right
board
things.
want to proceed forward with? What is the right thing to do?
I'm the
Also,
I'm the mean
Pete
one
brought up-
here.
Pete brought up
No, you're
one major thing is there's a leak existing as we speak on
Mhm,
the side of somebody's house.
yeah,
And we either need to know whether we're gonna fix it, whether they should fix it, whether we should fix it for the last time and say, that's it, we're done, and leave it as it is. Anything happens in your property is your responsibility, or what to proceed
It's
with.
there.
so if we go on and fix it and we do some damage or something to the property because we don't have the easement, we're liable.
Absolutely.
Okay, which
The
is,
workers are liable. I mean, there's no insurance coverage for anything.
right,
It
right.
should be. It's
Do
right
we-
next to this
Yeah,
woman's
private property
house.
now.
I mean, right on top of her house, and she has a patio and an old a wheelchair lift right next to it. There's a lot of structures she has that are right in the way.
to where we would have to go to fix the leak.
Yes.
Do we have, at what point in time were the easement letters sent out? Do we have any time frame or concept of how old these requests are?
Within the last year or a year and a half.
Hey, Matt, water board.
Okay.
What's going on?
Do we know was it only 1 out of the 5? Did we not get responses out of some of them?
No, no.
I believe verbally, Matt got 3 yeses. We actually had a meeting. Eddie Chase was there, one of the houses. He was all for it.
264, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
get that text there.
And the corner house was not for it. And he was
Okay.
the only one that did
All
not
right, gee, thanks.
accept
Bye.
it.
I mean, I hate to ask, did we negotiate the easements and offer up any funding or payment for the easement?
No,
I do
don't
not
think so.
believe so.
Okay. And I guess the only other question is, with 5 houses impacted, obviously the guy who's declining, the person that's declining the easement, I would feel less sorry for him if he has a leak than the other 4 that want to be on board, does it rise to the level that we would want to seek condemnation for the easement for the property that's refusing?
Well, I think you'd be setting yourself up for a bad spot if you're willing to do it for one and not for all. That would be one.
Oh, no, I wouldn't just do it for him. I guess I'm saying is if 5 people are on board for granting an easement and 1 isn't, is it something of a level that we would be willing to go to condemnation for his property to get the easement for his property?
His situation is he doesn't want any of his property touched at all. The water line is literally underneath his fence, and I would say within 2 feet of his shed. And even if the village was to get an easement, there's things that are already existing that do not allow us to work within an easement, whatever the width of the easement is, as it exists.
Right.
So that's a big problem.
We'd be responsible for putting back everything the way it was.
It's a lot.
Well, we wouldn't want to put it back because we wouldn't be able to do maintenance.
Right, in the future. Okay. But what do we do with those other properties?
I mean, really, we have a conscriptive easement to begin with, a prescriptive easement, because it's existing. If the line in the water line in the sewer are the village's property, then we actually technically have an easement, a prescriptive easement, just because it exists.
But so does everyone else have a sewer and a water line in their property.
Well, yeah, but it serves only their property. This is serving multiple people. So you could make that other argument as you went forward, you'd probably then have to do the condemnation to force the guy to give it up. But if it's serving more than one lot and it is the town's property, or the town sewer line, if we're expected to maintain it, then has to be a prescriptive easement associated with it.
How do you know we're expected to maintain it?
If we're expected to maintain it, if they're expected to maintain it,
How do you know that? How do you know who's expected to maintain it, John?
Well, that would be the question. Is we have maintained it through the years, correct?
Correct. We have not maintained it. We have occasionally fixed it when there was a major break.
Okay, well, that's maintenance. I mean, if you've gone and fixed it through the years, then you have history that says that you have a prescriptive easement.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
There's more patches on that thing than Donnie fixed it before I got here. I fixed it at least 4 times. I mean, the whole thing is all
patches.
I mean,
that's the thing. Is the line is old and broken, and it's got the access to it is almost non-existent. The places that we're going are not only on somebody's property. We're barely getting by buildings. We did one last year at night in the dark, and we almost knocked part of a building off. It's just it's in a very, very bad spot, and we don't feel comfortable going in there and doing it.
So maybe we don't want to pursue this and force all of the landowners to get individual connections.
I was just going to ask that question. Is that our option?
The reason that they never did the connections is on the front of Mizzier is a lot of rock. So even if the village there are no services off that main. Even if the village were to cut services off that main through the rock to their front property line, then the individual homeowners would somehow have to take that in rock in front of their house and get it to their backyard where their existing water connections are in their house. That's why they didn't do the services to begin with, because of the rock on South Mizzier.
All right.
So even if
this is why we keep going around in circles on this.
We do.
I'd leave it up to them. You're gonna come to my house and fix something, or give me money to fix something? I mean, I just don't think it's fair.
But we got to give you a curb out at your house.
Well, then I would put them in the front of the house, tap it, and then they were responsible.
Just to do that and to carve them out of rock and leave them in a place where they would cost the village a fortune to do what what you're
No, you
saying.
make them hire a contractor.
They can't go in the street and do that. We would,
That's all
Patrick's
right.
saying that we
We would, be responsible for making the taps, but it really doesn't matter because they'd still have to come and get it from the front yard to the back.
Yeah, but once we do that and turn that off back there on, then they have no choice.
Yeah, but then, you gotta give them water one direction or another, you know what I mean? You can't just cut them completely off and
So you
say,
give them time to do
here
it.
they are, come and get it.
Do they know about the leak right now? Besides,
Mrs. Vonberg knows.
They all know because we handed out shut-off notices the one day we thought we were gonna do it. And then we had some difficulties, we got the big bad weather, and that delayed us.
How's the rest of Prospect Street served? Where is it served from, past Von Berg's?
It stops.
There's only basically, I think, 1, 2, maybe 3 other houses
Right.
which are to the west of Mizzier Avenue.
Yeah,
So they
okay.
do come off of Prospect, but the water main is very close in that location. And the rock doesn't start, if you're familiar with Prospect, and come off of South Avenue, and then all of a sudden you have this big hill.
Yeah,
And
yep.
all that hill is all rock. And
Okay.
I know without a shadow of a doubt, from attempting to put a valve in front of Mr. Travis's, that when I tell you rock, I mean from top all the way to the bottom. It's solid rock in the location where we dug.
The houses on the front on South Avenue, that their backyard would be the back of the South Mizzier houses. Their lines are all just connected through the front?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is the decision we have to make. We have to get rid of this year, one way or the other. We originally went the easy way, which was wasn't even the easy way, is to rebuild the line and get all the easements. That did not work. So we only have, either way, if we cut off the line, we have to supply them a curb cut in front of their, under their property, before the property, sorry. That's a definite if we don't rebuild the line, but we don't have an easement. So we're in a very bad spot. And this line is junk. It will blow apart again.
so if we fix it one last time and after we fix it, we send a letter out and say, this is it. You're on your own after this fix.
But we have to supply them a curb
Can we
cut.
do that?
But I personally like Kevin's idea, what he mentioned. You attempted to get the easement and you only have one. This is what I said from the beginning. Don't do anything. Don't pay anybody to do anything. You got to get the easements first. You can't get the easements. You already tried it. So that's it. You tell them, we're going to fix this one last one. You're on your own from here. That's it.
I agree with that too.
Can we legally do that and still charge them for water?
Even if that's the case,
For
let
charging
them
them.
figure out if it's not legal and come after you. I mean,
Well, I mean,
is a homeowner gonna pay an attorney to figure out if it's legal? I doubt it. And if that's the
I thought you
case,
Jason
then you
answered.
decide to do something
I only
else.
cloth some chops.
If we go this way, I feel we have to supply them a curb cut at the very
You
least.
have it. You have a curb stop
And
right there.
Not in front, not connected to their property.
Sure it is. It's in the back of their house. We already have our curb stop. You got
So
a
it
2-inch
means
line in
doesn't
front of
that we don't-
Campieli's physical therapy building that feeds 5 houses, goes right up the street, same exact thing.
Yes. And that shouldn't be there either.
Well, maybe these things shouldn't be there, but they're existing.
right.
So,
And we've been fixing them as we've been coming across things. And this is something else that we
yes,
have to
but
get
the
rid of.
whole purpose of this is we're in somebody else's property. That's it.
The guy won't give us, if he's the key person to give us the easement,
It's right where it starts.
it's right where it starts, then the other ones are gonna give us the easement. But if he's the key guy, then
Easement's not.
if we fix this one line, if we fix this one line, because it's fair, I consider it fairly easy because it's right there, right off the street. And say, and after you fix it, the letter goes out as you're fixing it. Like
Yeah,
when
prior
you're
to
fixing it,
fixing
we
it.
send letters saying this is the last fix, that's it. And if they come back and say it broke again, well, you need to talk to your neighbor to give us this easement.
I mean, even if you have the easement, again, an easement is designed so that those people cannot use that portion of their property.
Yeah, I
Just to
understand.
get an easement, if it was 10 foot, 5 foot on both sides, you're talking sheds, houses,
Yeah, it's all gotta
fences.
move.
It's all gotta be
move.
go. It's gotta go.
So,
And they're not gonna be willing to do that.
so I'm saying the same thing you guys are. I'm just saying there, if we don't do it that way,
As a
we have
backup plan, you have to leave a
curb cock for them.
curb cock in front of their house.
So if you do that, then they're gonna say, well, that's fine, but I'm not coming and getting it. Now you did all that work for what?
Then we can, if we do have a water
You got no
supply
water,
source
I don't
for
think.
it, then we can shut it down when we have a major leak.
Yeah,
Right
but
now,
that
I
doesn't,
can't.
that doesn't help anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, what you understand what I'm saying? Right
Yes.
now, shutting them off, there's no way for them to get water as the last property owner. What's the last property owner's name?
Marisha.
Marisha. There's no way for them to get water without it. They have no curb cock on their property.
Do we know that the health department would allow us to do that?
I don't know.
Forget somebody hiring a lawyer. I'm not sure what the health department would have to say about taking away water service to existing customers.
Yes, that is very true.
So why don't we ask them?
I mean, I can call Dan and ask him if you want. Just have a
Maybe
conversation.
bring this up again next month.
And I'm
Maybe,
sorry,
maybe
what
he
is
has some insight as to ways we can deal with this. as he's
Right,
Dealt with it in
right.
other municipalities.
What is it that you're gonna ask them?
How to deal with the fact that the water service is in the backyard without an easement and we need to get rid of it and replace it. What are our options? Can we shut it off? And
He's
make
gonna
them
tell you
connect?
no.
Well, I mean,
Everybody
but he
needs
might
water.
have some insight as to how to force the easement or how to, force the homeowners to make a connection. I don't know. I can ask. That's all I can do and see if he's got some input.
Okay, either way, this is not,
I mean, we still have the sewer line is in that same trench. So even if we fix the water line, we still have a sewer line that's in that same space. So
I don't think it's in anybody's best interest to tell them that the water and the sewer line are in the same trench.
oh, I wouldn't say that to Dan
Now
Keeler.
you're getting into something totally different.
It's not my first rodeo, Ken.
Yeah, I don't know if that's such a good idea.
Well, it's a pre-existing condition that predates any of the regulations that say that you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, but we're aware of it now.
Yeah, but it's an existing condition and the sewer is well below the water line.
Does anybody,
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
That's my story. Don't.
It's a good
Does
quarter of an
anybody
inch lower, John.
Ken,
Yeah,
does anybody mind if I call up to Bridget at the Water Authority offices and see if we've encountered this type of situation in the past and what we've done?
yeah, I mean, you could ask them, but
Definitely.
again, even if the people granted you an
You're
easement,
not gonna take the shed down.
Right.
they're not taking any pieces of what is existing within that easement down. And
There's
and
not enough room in the easement that we would request to do the work that we would need to do.
without destroying property.
Which is
Okay.
why we had proposed coming in from the other direction, which
yes,
was just taking their entire yard.
yes, that was the problem. I like my method the best. I mean, but let's see what you come up with, Mary, and on next
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll call Dan Keeler. You can call
month,
Bridget.
let's do our final decision.
It's
So I
January.
guess
We got 11
at
months.
this
We won't be
point-
talking about this next year at this time, right?
No, we're done this spring. We're done.
We'll be on the
Decision.
next one. But we'll
What
have
do
more
we-
insight.
What do we do with the existing leak?
How big is it?
Well,
All right,
it's certainly gallons per minute, 5 or more.
It's not huge, but it's consistent and.
Have
They
you
still
located-
have water,
Have
No
you
one's
located the leak,
complaining,
Ken? Do you know
but
where
it
the leak?
will not
Yes, we
get
have.
better.
Okay. I just was curious.
We
It's-
located a leak right next to Mrs. Von Berg's house,
right.
literally right next to her house and her porch and improvements that she has. We would be cutting up private sidewalks.
Yeah, okay.
So that's
Is-
kind of where this is coming from.
Yeah.
Is the leak confined to underground right now?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. So we're not talking about any kind of physical hazard to anyone if there's freezing.
Getting into the sanitary sewer, so that's where I can see it.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
thank
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yes,
You can see it in the street.
you can see it in the manhole.
That shows, yeah.
Ken, how much is it costing us to produce the water that's leaking?
Well, I could tell you what it cost you to produce the water that it's leaking from last month to this month, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay,
So, you know, with that included in on it,
yeah,
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna move on, but we're gonna finish this next month.
I gotta fuck.
Okay.
I gotta go.
All right, next month you have to be here to vote.
I will be here.
Thanks for coming.
I'd stay for the whole thing if I didn't have 4 meetings scheduled at 4, 5, 6, and then a drill at 7.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Kenny, why don't you elaborate on the leak?
okay, so as we had previously discussed at the last meeting, starting with the last 4 days in November and all of December, we've had some increased flows. For November, it was 480,000 gallons per day. December went up to 576,000 gallons per day. That's 96,000 gallons per day.
Mhm.
And we diligently looked for the leak with both ourselves and our leak detector, and we finally located the leak, which ended up to be in the woods at the intersection of Gilmore Boulevard North and Oak Park Terrace. It was an 8-inch water main. It was a crack around the main. We were able to repair it immediately. We're already seeing the benefits of decreased flow. But if you take the difference in gallons per day from the 480 to the 576, it's 96,000 gallons a day. Marie was kind enough to calculate the dollar value for that as a total for the 42 days that it took us to find it. And it came to $26,651.
And that's for the leak at Windlass Tank.
No, not specific to that. All the leaks during this period of time, which obviously that was most of. So this is why we spoke previously about George Walter's offer to put data loggers in so we would be able to find these leaks. That takes us a significant period of time to find. And this amount would, you know, significantly have made a difference in regards to if we did have those data loggers, it would have taken George 2 hours to find this leak. And this is only one leak one time in 1 year. So if you go back and look at the information that I had gave to the board in regards to George's proposals, which the total for 4-year costs was the $73,900. That would be for 12 surveys per year with the installation costs. So if you wanted to, you could have minus that dollar value from that if you had the system.
Which we were planning on starting next year after that. Our main thing was filtration plant.
Right.
That was number one.
Yes.
That
So
was number two.
I just want the board to continue to consider this. You kind of had the perfect storm in this situation when you were working on one of your wells And when they placed the chemicals in that well, we were unable to operate during that period of time. The fire department was notified, Patrick was notified in regards to if something happened. You know, they were to have a backup, a standby fire-wise, and that we would have had to open the town of Poughkeepsie valve up just to get the necessary amount of water needed to supply the fire and the village with water. So unfortunately, we got by all that. The well has been rehabbed, the motor's in good shape. The big leak's been found, so we're back to a normal rate. But at one point, we were maxing the wells out and could not keep up until nighttime came around. So the tanks were still building, but it was between 11 p.m. and basically 6 a.m. when the tanks would go up. During the day, the tanks would actually go down. So even though we were maxed out on the one well we have, during the day, you just couldn't keep up with demand.
So Ken, if the leak's still there, we're still using the excess right now? We're producing, it's still leaking, correct?
Oh, no, we repaired the leak.
Oh, you repaired, okay, you repaired the
The
leak.
leak
All right.
was found and immediately repaired.
Okay.
As soon as it was found, we made the necessary phone calls, got all our markouts and dug it and fixed it immediately.
Okay.
With our own people, we just needed to hire someone with a larger machine. It was in the woods. It was in a very difficult location. But other than that, you know, everything with our own people.
Okay. And that was the larger of the two? That was the
Oh, absolutely. It was an
Okay.
8-inch water main, and it was a radial crack. So we were definitely losing significant amount of water. And since the leak has been repaired, our tanks are, you know, back
Okay.
to somewhat of a normal flow. It's
Okay.
only been days, so, but clearly made a difference.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Mary, so you know, our plan was the filtration plant first, and then
Right.
actually second,
Yep.
as well as the tie-ins. What is your usage now? Do you know? It only goes to December.
It was like 5:40 this morning, so, you know, we're only
Still-
11 days in.
Still pretty high.
But we're gonna come back. I mean, it's only been days. So we went from like, you know, high 500s to actually the first day under 500,000 gallons because the tanks topped off and then the plant shut off. And then, you know, this morning it was like just over 500,000, but for the month, you're still over 500,000. But that's going to take a while to average out. But we're coming around. We do, there's also a leak on private property at number 10 List Road that we located as well. And I just actually had Brian, the building inspector, send the homeowner a letter requesting they fix the leak. You know, we kind of gave them a little verbal. We told them, you know, you had a leak, you got to get it fixed. We gave them some time with no response. So I got Brian involved, and he'll send a letter out telling them they have 10 days to fix the leak.
Ken, is that leak before or after? It's before the meter, obviously, right?
It is. So it's after the village's shut off responsibility,
Okay.
but prior to their water meter. So it would be considered unaccounted for loss.
Right. Okay. So we might have to provide an incentive for them to fix it because it's obviously not bothering their water bill at all.
Correct. So at this point, the procedure has been for us to contact Brian.
Mhm.
He sends the letter out telling them what the code is
Yeah.
and, you know, telling them that they have 10 days to fix the leak.
Okay.
Or we will shut them off.
And if there is no response, they get shut off.
Yep,
That's
And-
all.
that's reasonable because that's health.
If they have-
View
if
that
there's-
as a public health issue. If there is a leak, you know,
If they have a contractor can't make it, you're like 11 or 12 days, of course, you
Right.
get a couple days, but other than that, they get shut off.
Yeah, I mean, if we know what their intent is and they're showing intent, you
sure.
know, they have been in contact with a contractor. The contractor has discussed with us what their responsibility is. You know, that's all fine. We get that. But when you talk to them and they realize that it's there, but they don't make any action,
Mhm.
you know, that's when you know, you got to move forward a little bit. But also letting them know we're here to help them, you know, in any way that we can.
Right. What's our, I'm sorry, I apologize if I've asked this question before. What's our policy on providing the staffing to do the work and then charging them for it?
Actually, is there something in the code? I want to remember.
We have
There,
something.
there is in the code, it's in the code that you have the right to go in there and make the repair and then assess the property.
You know, I certainly don't like that part of it. You know, once
Mhm.
again, you're on people's property. They're not even giving you permission to do so. You know, I think that's certainly a bad position to take.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, since I've been on the board, the only ruling we've ever had is if the people can't afford to have it done,
Yeah.
the contractor will pay the contractor and we'll bill them on their bill monthly till it's paid off.
Okay. All right.
And that was done for lead lines mainly
Mm-hmm.
before.
Okay.
I didn't even know you did that.
Yeah, not too often.
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, that's the lead one's been in the books, but that's what it's been. There's been a few people just couldn't afford it. So we just bill over a couple years. If it's in the code book, but I know we've done it.
Well, again, you don't want to be put in a position where you're going on private property, especially if they're antagonistic.
So I'd rather do
Right.
it this way and not go on
Right.
there.
Right.
So now we're in the position where we got our major leak under control, but we have this smaller leak, which is on Vonberg, which is part of that.
Right.
And Kenny and I are saying, we would rather not do this. All we see is the downside of it.
Right.
But we don't like to see it sitting there leaking, even though it's a much smaller leak than the main leak that we had.
Right. No, I think that, well, any leak in general, you kind of weigh the cost of what is it, you know, what's the impact on the system? What's the impact to the other customers? You know, what's the cost of fixing it versus, you know, is it going to cost you 25 cents to let it leak and, you know, 25,000 to fix it? You know, all these things get taken into account. But there's one of the things that I feel, at least for me, is there's so much stuff that comes into all these meetings. There's a lot to keep track of. I actually feel like I need more paper to keep track of everything from meeting to meeting. But, you know, if we're using Brian to send out these letters and Marie's doing bills, I'm almost feeling like I would like to see somebody tracking. If you send a letter out and it says 10 days, who's doing the follow-up on the 10 days? Where is it
That would
going?
be Brian.
I'm sorry?
That would be Brian.
That would be Brian, but does he have the staff capacity to follow up on it regularly so that every month, like Pat says, you know, we're coming back to this meeting, we're discussing it again. I almost feel like we need someone, and I don't know if Marie's got the time to do it with everything else she's doing, to kind of set up a tracking sheet of these are the issues we've discussed. These are the leaks that are ongoing. This is the date the letter went out. This is the date we have to follow up. And now this is what we're, you know, attaching to the following month's board meeting so that we have.
So the history has been when there's a leak, I keep track of it. And if
Okay.
it goes on a certain period of time and they're not responding to it, I communicate with Brian.
Okay.
And he sends the letter out and he communicates back to me as far as when he sent the letter out, what date they received it and signed for it. And then we keep track of it. Very similar to what we do for a backflow prevention. Same thing.
Okay.
So we have a plan.
I hate to ask this, but is that something you could include in your reports every month? where we're at with those things. I don't even, it's fine if you've decided that, we've got a leak, but we're not pushing heavy on it right now. That's
So it's always, if you get I'm sorry, Mary, I cut you off.
no.
So if you look at this report, everything is in the report. So like today, when I contacted Brian, it's in the report. So this way, if I need to refer back to it, I can go look in the report and say, what was it that day that I spoke with Brian? So we put it in the report, but I also put it on a calendar.
Okay.
I'll have it on, what's that?
Can you show me where I can find it on the report that's in our?
Sure. So if you look as an example, right, the reports will start on page 3 of 24.
Okay.
So in the upper left-hand corner, it gives a date, and it'll start the log notes.
Okay.
From the first of the month.
Okay.
It'll go all the way to the end of the month.
All right. So it's going to be in your log notes.
Yeah. So,
I need the charts below. Okay.
Like just in general, like, hey, what did the water guys do?
Yep.
That would be the location to find that information.
Okay. All right. All right, good. Thank you. Because what I may do for my own personal tracking system is create kind of a monthly calendar for things like we're talking about. So I can see, what kind of time frame, how long have we had that leak? I know you've got all that information, but it's harder for me to retain,
No problem. Understand. But that's where you're going to find it. And
okay.
In regards to a larger leak, you're certainly going to know that based on the DOH form, which gives you the information as in page 12 of 24.
Yep.
So if you go to 12 of 24, look in the left column all the way up at the top.
Yep.
It says treated water in volume. And you look all the way down at the bottom, it's going to give you the total amount of gallons for that month.
Yep.
And the average daily flow just below.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
So, if you looked, as I described, from November to December, you went from 480 to 576. That's your indicator.
Yep. Okay. Great.
And naturally, it's going to vary from summer to, whatever, to winter.
Oh, yeah.
But that's definitely a great indicator.
Okay. Thank you, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Kenny, while we're on it, what did they do with the pump anyway? Like, did they rebuild the one or?
So what Lane did was they sent the existing, they rebuilt the pump, cleaned everything, changed the spider bushings.
And they sent out the motor or?
Sent the motor out to Troy, a company called Troy Motors. They're a US Motors certified factory or whatever, certified technician. So they sent it out and they'll, read the bearings, change the oil, make sure, everything like that is okay.
The windings were okay?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
So,
and the shaft was okay.
Yep, the shaft was okay. Just what I'm going to call a clutch, which goes over the shaft where the threads are, was larger on the new motor, but it was never picked up by any of the mechanics. Okay. So there was a little bit of vibration. It wasn't crazy, but it was enough for them to notice it this time. And so we got a different clutch and now we're back in business.
Okay. That's a little meeting.
Yeah, I mean, there was some stuff going on,
So like I said, our main goal going forward, we want this Mizzier problem going, of course, forever.
Well, so still, but the question stands: Do we go in and fix that?
We're gonna when we get the next two opinions from the from the Board of Health.
You think we should hold off now on
Hold off.
Lombergs?
Really? You really want to hold off, Pat?
I was going to, you didn't say the leak was that big. So
Well, it's not, but I'm like a bug. Anytime,
I say,
any kind of leak.
I don't know, it's a tough one because that lift's there, that concrete thing's there, and the concrete's gonna crack and she's gonna complain.
You gotta take it out. So you're gonna have to go back there next summer and pour concrete in this lady's yard.
Yeah. And if we fix it, I definitely think the note's gotta follow as soon as while you're fixing it, the note should be being mailed out that day as we're fixing it. This way we know it's.
I mean, honestly, even if we do fix it, there is definitely risk that when we're in that hole and that chairlift, I mean, literally,
Yeah.
that's leaking. Now the ground is completely saturated. And I don't know what's gonna hold that thing up.
You can be
honestly.
undermining the whole thing, yeah.
There's definitely risk without a doubt
if you don't
in
fix it,
that specific location. No, if you do fix it, there's risk.
I thought the best thing would be what the Board of Health tells us to do. And we'll go from there. Either way, we're gonna do something, but next meeting, be done with it.
Can I,
A full vote and we'll do it,
So you wanna hold off?
unless it's critical.
from a practical standpoint, is it, I mean, I thought, and I may be totally wrong here, is because I've known the family a number of years, is the chairlift still being used, or is that something that was installed years ago and is no longer in use?
It's no longer in use, but it's connected to the porch, I believe, and I would worry that the whole system.
That was going to be my question. Do we at least approach by asking that they would need, in order for us to, at any time in the future, fix the leak, that the chairlift would need to be removed and at least take that out of the mix before we might do anything there?
You want, meaning we would take it out or she would?
No.
Okay.
You know, we would indicate that some of the preconditions for us fixing anything there would be that would have to be removed. I don't know, you know, if
Yeah.
it's reasonable, if we could do something like that, but at least it eliminates one of the difficult conditions that you might be facing.
So you're saying to her, have her remove the chairlift. This way, in the springtime, we can come back and just add the concrete.
Yeah,
Then they put the chairlift back in.
yeah,
Well, she's not gonna put it back because they don't use it anymore.
Well,
right. That's what I was thinking for you guys.
Although
yeah.
she's older now.
She's older, so she might need it.
There's a very good possibility that they.
I think she
they
just broke her
want
leg or her arm just a few weeks back. So
And unfortunately, in this condition, we've actually already handed out the notice that we were going to fix it. It's just at the time, we had the storm, then we had people out on COVID, and then the board got involved and things kind of changed up a little bit. So
we have to fix it.
Yeah, I don't know, at this point, exactly the direction that everybody wants to go in. But when we were actually going to fix it, we checked in with you guys and you said, fix this one. And then as soon as you're done fixing it, we're gonna send the letter out stating that we're not fixing it anymore.
That's how I feel.
That's what I felt too, but I just thought we had to fix it because we gave no warning. Which I thought the leak was small, that we didn't have to deal with, so we had the full Department of Health feedback, and then if the leak's big.
Well, it's not big now, but it's definitely not gonna get smaller.
No.
So what has happened previously is the leak gets to the point where it starts affecting people's pressure. And then you're in immediately.
Yeah.
So we're back to not to back us up, but is the approach then that you're suggesting that we fix this one leak and that's the last of it?
That was my goal. I didn't think about all the other things that John said about, I forgot the terminology about that we own the line because we've been working on it.
Right. I mean, I think there's a difference between addressing this one leak and at the same time investigating the long-term ramifications of what we need to do about these 5 properties.
Alls I know is we have a letter from Lou Viglotti going back several years that says that at no time should there be public funds spent on private property.
I I don't disagree with that. Which is why, and that is the best form to take, because anytime you're doing that and you're touching that private property, we increase our liability 100-fold. So it is an issue. But we've set precedent. We told them we were fixing it. What's our responsibility at this point as a result of that?
Correct.
So it puts us back to, do you think you have to fix it? Do you think you have to fix it? Ask her if she'll remove the chair and then.
I could tell you right now, she is not removing that chair without even asking.
Then we're not,
I say we shouldn't fix
then we can't fix it.
Then I think we have to wait based on, the
Village should be responsible for
you
it.
getting in there.
Right.
I mean, it's to the
I mean-
point where everybody, even one of my guys who I sent over to take a look at the construction said, boy, I really don't like the way that's sitting right there. That whole thing could fall down on us.
Jeez.
So it's not just Ken and I, the other
Right.
people that have no,
Right. I'd be concerned forget the property liability. I'd be concerned, do we have a workers' comp issue putting our staff over there in that kind of situation? And then what is our workers' comp support if we've placed people on private land where we have no business being?
Right. That's a huge factor.
Yeah. I
Maybe this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and it's up to them to fix it. Or we shut the
well,
water
that's where
down.
we were all leaning towards, John, is,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then
I mean, it sounds like this is a
I think the board
situation
even
where we
voted
really
that they were
shouldn't
going-
be there.
I think the board even voted, 3 or 4 meetings ago, that's the direction they wanted to take, to draft a letter to those people telling them, we tried to get easements, we couldn't, so now you're on your own. Unfortunately, before they drafted that letter, this leak popped up. So now they never got the letter and there's a leak there.
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily needs to have been in place anyway, when they didn't agree to the easement. I mean, you're
Could be.
kind
It
of
was a timing concern for some of the board.
Yeah, I figured, I
I
felt
don't
we
know.
didn't give them any warning. I put myself in their shoes, you don't give me any warning and I'm off. Like, what do I do now?
I mean, this particular leak is right at the foundation too. So, I mean, at what point do we? I mean, there's the water line, and then there's the water line, and then there's all the services.
Right.
Where do you draw the line as to what we're responsible for? We're not going to
Well,
take
the
easements right up to the
services,
house.
services actually have curb valves in the back, and we wouldn't go on their side of that. But
Right.
the main, quote unquote, main is so close to all these structures that
Well, yeah.
is the leak causing property damage there underneath?
No, not at this time.
not that we see.
But
There's a sewer line that runs right with it. And if you pull
Mm.
the manhole in the street right in front of it, literally 10 feet away, you can see a small amount of clear flow that flows through there all the time that wouldn't normally be flowing through there. So that's how we're gauging it.
What kind of soil is that? Because you do start getting erosion. You might end up with a sinkhole.
It's not the best of soils.
All right.
When we dug the backyards, those were pretty rotten, clay and shale.
Should I mention I had in the city of Newburgh, I had a trench collapse. The bottom of a trench collapsed 12 foot down to the sanitary sewer because of a leak that had eroded out a sandy soil. Went down to the sewage plant in the city, and from 5 foot down to about 18 feet down fell in.
So you'd have that there because you have the rock is at a higher level, but you could still have, there's no doubt you could have some.
Yeah, you might still get some sinkholes and things that will develop with a running leak.
The good thing is that the water service is right on top of the sewer main, and seems to go right into that.
But it's a mess, and
It's
Right.
bad. There's no good answer to any of this.
No.
I don't think.
Sounds like it. If from a water production perspective, it's not causing us significant harm. If from a property perspective for the property owner, the risk right now is is less to them than it is to possibly the sewer pipe and moving towards a sinkhole, then do we have to, do we have to make a decision tonight? Can we do some more investigation? Are there any legal ramifications for board advisement in between meetings rather than waiting until February?
That's way over my head.
I think if we find some information out between Dan Keeler and Bridget, maybe we can, if we need to, we can reconvene.
Yes,
You
we
can
can.
definitely notify us and we can.
Right, yeah, and we can have a conversation at least.
Definitely. Times frame.
Yes. It doesn't have to be done. The notification between us doesn't have to be done in a meeting.
Okay.
Just be aware that I am very, very conscious about leaks.
Mhm.
I want to get this thing fixed. Whether
Yeah, I'll talk to
Yeah.
Dan
someone
tomorrow.
else does it, it's definitely something that bothers me.
I will call Bridget, as long as Bridget's available, I will call her and speak with her tomorrow.
Who would speak with the,
John will.
I'll call Dan. The
villages in terms of liability and workman's comp and those things? Where would we get answers on that?
Kevin, would it be our lawyer?
Probably our lawyer. I can call him tomorrow, and yeah, I'll call Craig tomorrow.
Okay.
Nobody,
Who handles, or is the village self-insured, or do we, is there an outside insurance agent that handles our insurance?
We have an outside insurance agent, NICOM. Or
Okay.
Nymir, sorry, Nymir.
Nymir, and do they handle the workers' comp also?
I'll call John in the morning too.
Okay, all right, all right.
I'll let you know.
All right, if you need me to call Jess
They
or
say-
anything.
Don't worry about workers' comp, we're gonna cover you.
Yeah.
I'll believe them when they put it in writing. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it as a joke. I'm serious.
No, unfortunately, it's kind of sad that we all kind of laugh because we know.
We go on private property, our guys covered under workman's comp, and if they say yes, I say, can you put that in writing for us?
Yes,
Yep,
that would be great.
Okay, I got that.
and mention that there's improvement. We're working right on underneath improvements on private structures.
Yeah.
Which is the right thing to know going forward.
okay.
Personally be here tomorrow and have John Carge call, and I'll be in his office, and
Yeah,
I'll tell
that's
that guy.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. We're willing to do whatever we need to do. But that would be, part of an interest on our behalf because of the location of it. It really is in a bad spot.
Yeah.
I agree.
Whatever decision we make, it's important to know what all the risks are involved.
And it will tell you going forward for the other problems we have.
Somebody took the cheap way out years ago, and we're paying for it today.
This has happened. I've been here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a headache for a long time.
Yes.
I'm just saying, somebody took the cheap way out years ago,
Right.
and today we're paying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If all these things are new,
It's easy.
they're not. Our side is copper at least.
Yeah.
So it's just everything on their side is galvanized or
And
lead.
every time you dig this up and you touch that galvanized pipe, there's a very good chance that you're disturbing it even more, and that right next to it is going to cause a leak, some point in the future.
We've attempted to fix it. You get the couplings on it, you turn it on, it's split for,
Yeah, it's in
4 inches away on this side.
it's
Now
very
you gotta do
precarious
it over.
condition. Just digging it up can cause.
That whole line is lead?
No,
That's
galvanized.
That's galvanized.
Yeah, just a little piece from the connection to the T, going to the curb stop. I've changed at least 2 of them. So, the other ones may be like that. Now, Mrs. Von Berg has copper going in. So that may have been changed already. I didn't have him put it in.
Yeah.
I don't remember Donnie ever saying that he put it in. So, now I'm going back, a number of years
Yeah,
to the 80s. So,
Ken, any chance of you just doing a rough cocktail napkin sketch for me of how the line is set up now?
when you coming back to New York?
Not until March.
Oh, come on. I wanted to show it to you in person.
I'm sorry.
How would I be able to get it to you?
Don't we have, that's shown on that sketch that we put together last year.
Yes.
I think it is.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what, John? That
I'll
would
send
probably
it. I'll
be-
send it to Mary.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because it
You
shows,
get
it shows the alternate that we had talked about coming in from the other direction.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that would be fine. I think that
Yeah, I
would
think that covers it pretty
be, yeah,
well.
you'd get a good idea. Thank you.
It'll be better than your sketch on a napkin anyway.
Oh, without a doubt. You never saw my drawing, so.
Yeah, and I can email it. You don't have to mail the napkin.
That would be great, because then I can forward it to Bridget so we have it for discussion.
Right.
Boom.
There you go. Yep, I'll chase that down and get that out to you.
All right, thank you.
I think we beat that to death.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but it had to be.
Yeah, it did. It did. I'm gonna move on to
Right,
the agenda.
Well, before we go any farther, let's schedule the meeting, just in case Kevin's gotta go.
Oh, okay. The upcoming meeting, let me bring up my calendar real quick. So next month, the,
8th. I have the 8th.
yeah, I believe. Yeah, so the village board regular meeting is on the 10th, so that, yes, the water board would be the 8th.
John, have you heard anything about the approval for the filtration plant?
We're working on the final plans for that. So, they authorize us. So we have begun working on putting that together. Our surveyors will be out this week to survey the windlass property for the tank. So we've started working on it. And we did talk to USDA this past week. Mary was on the call. I don't know if you've got half of that because they were just going on and on. Yeah, we did a pretty good job on the report. We need to clarify some of the numbers.
No,
The bottom line is they're really looking to see, as far as funding versus low interest loans or zero interest loans, is where we fall on the cost per user in the residential area. If it passes, if it gets over a threshold, then they'll give you more grants. So we have to get into the debt service and what the the annual cost is for I think it's annual cost or monthly cost for the user is. Usually, like when you're doing a new water district, there's like a number that if you exceed, the state won't allow you to do a new water district if it's more than this average amount, like some threshold. So we have to see where we are toward that threshold number. And it used to be around $670. I don't know what it is now. It's been a couple of years. I don't know if they've increased it recently or not. So it has to do with the district cost per user. And I believe it was an annual cost. So, because I don't think anybody gets a $600 water bill, so it must be an annual cost.
yeah, I was gonna say.
It's got to be an
probably,
annual cost. Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think the threshold, it used to be around 670. I got to check to see what the number is. But then we need to go through the bills and all the assets of the water system and come up with that number for them. And that was the big lift on the comments. The rest of it was fairly minor. They wanted us to fluff out some of the report a little bit and clarify a few things, but the big lift was the money end. So, but I think they actually were impressed we got as far as we did in their system, in their new system, which, by the way, doesn't necessarily record everything correctly. So.
Oh, they got another new system now?
It's all online now. It's all online. It's this new form that they have online. So it's not even like you you fill out paperwork or anything like that. You'll do it all online and it may or may not record it correctly.
Right.
So,
Try and fit your square pegs into their round holes.
right. Yeah. So we're working on that. We're pushing that through too, responding to their comments to see how much funding we can get out of them. They weren't saying no, but
Did you have any problem with their fixed asset list form, John, or is that?
no, it was pretty straightforward.
Good.
And he emailed it immediately. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're very responsive. So I was impressed with their end that they were so quick to respond, considering it's a government agency. Yeah, a federal government agency to boot. So, but they have money to play with right now. So we'll get that turned back around to them as quick as we can.
Hopefully we get, that would be a beautiful thing to get rid of that, get that plant up and running.
Get that plant, and then we also put in for 2 water tanks in that proposal too.
Oh, wow.
So I'm 2 water tanks and the plant, and then I think there was a little bit of slush on top of that. So maybe enough to do a water service in people's backyard. Or
Buffer,
whatever.
not slush. Buffer.
Yeah. Buffer. That's it. Contingency. We're allowed contingency. So
John,
in
do
fact,
you have
they
anything
commented. They actually commented that we didn't put enough contingency in. By the way, so
Right.
Oh, really?
yeah, we didn't bump it up high enough. So I'll take more money.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So I mean that went pretty well.
Did I miss anything else you were going over?
So we had the water plant, that water tank we're working on. I got you all that information last month, so we've set that up and we're working on it. Then the USD application. I think that's pretty much the extent of the active stuff right now.
Okay, good.
Obviously, I'll as soon as those plans show up from. In fact, actually, nope, that's Devin. I saw something pop in while we were having our conversation. Oh yeah, Brian Law. Actually, he emailed me the site plans while we were still on this, so he's on top of it. Brian
Right.
Watts. So I'll take a look at that. I'll make sure he's using the right materials. But
Then we have to check the backflow preventer on that too, John.
well, yeah, whatever the sprinklers. But again, this backflow preventer goes to that'll go to the health department. So
Take Elmies away.
yeah, and that's up to
So
them.
the domestic line, what you would want to do with that as well, based on commercial
Right.
space.
Yeah, and I'll get into the code a little bit, make sure that they're proposing the right sprinkler or following the right sprinkler code for their system.
All right.
All right.
John, just so you're aware, they are also going to be in front of the village board to request sewer. You might want to look at that at the same time.
Okay. Do we review the sewer for you guys as well, or does Christian?
Just again, just to the compliance.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look at that.
With
Certainly, I'll look at
materials
it.
and
Yeah.
codes.
Yeah, and it wouldn't take me any longer to look at that than opening the plans.
I think Christian already did. I'll be honest with
He
you.
probably did. I would guess that he would have.
Okay.
So. But that's all I've got for new business.
Kenny, did it?
No, I think you pretty well covered it. We went over the rehab of the well.
That's the main thing. That's
Yeah,
the-
so that's all, back to normal now. We'll do the test on number 7 to see what the status of that is, receive the report back as to whether or not we need to rehab that, whenever the budget allows. And, then the wells will, be in good shape after that.
If our budget's in really good shape, I haven't gone over it. We gotta do that shortly, and we'll do the leak detection sooner rather than later. I just gotta see where we are money wise.
Yep.
I don't know what the contingency.
I think we should also use that, maybe include that report in with the USD application to show that the well is slowly losing capacity.
Right. Now, John, I believe Marie sent you the report from
Yeah.
the one we just rehabbed.
Yep. I was just looking at it, and that one of the
Okay,
things they
good.
point out is every time you rehab it, it's still the capacity is slowly dropping on the well. over the years. It's gone from well over 600 to below, it was what, at 570 this time?
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to look at the report. Honestly,
Yeah.
Marie just gave it to me today, so
Yeah, I think
not
initially it
sure,
was,
John.
yeah, it's down to like 570 gallons per minute, where the last time they did it, it was at 580. And,
Right.
you know, and then it just, so we've been slowly losing capacity on
Yeah,
this
and
well.
just, also remember that normally when they go to clean a well, they inject the chemicals, it stays in there 24 hours. So we don't have the ability to do that because we only
Right.
have one well.
Yeah, you're down
And
to
we
one
don't
well.
have enough, water in the tank to be able to supply the village with 24 hours of water without, a well coming on.
Right. Right, which is why the plant's so critical. Let's get the plant on
Yes.
so we can use either well,
Yep.
or bring even some other wells back online that we've been.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, the water is there at the plant, that's for sure.
Right,
Once you have the ability to filter it, we're in good shape.
right. Okay.
Then you could search around a little bit.
hmm Well, I mean, you're not lingering on one well and hoping
Yes.
that
Right.
you can get it back online quickly. Because I mean, obviously you probably push the test to as short a time as possible for the cleaning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where they couldn't get in and really clean the screen out the way they could, to bring it back.
Yep,
You don't have that ability when you're only on the one well.
correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Before we close, I do have a couple of small things, Pat, if that's okay. The first is back at the end of November, Marie mailed around a document from the planning board concerning aquifer and wellhead protection overlay district. The planning board is doing a review of the current zoning and making some recommendations. And so they've asked, what they want us to do with this document is read it and review it and make sure we're okay with what it's stating, because it will become part of the adopted zoning plan.
Okay, Matt, we do have a study that shows that. I don't remember who did it. It's from last year that shows all the critical areas for aquifer.
Yep. They're
There's
just
a
looking
full
for some,
layout.
Yeah.
they're looking for just some kind of positive affirmation or negative affirmation or whatever, or if we have any concerns, so that before they adopt it as part of it, they've gotten our input.
Okay.
So it could just be simply that we read it, and next meeting, if everybody's on board with it, we just provide a resolution indicating that we have accepted it as presented.
Okay, so Marie has that. She's going to send it out.
She emailed it on the 24th of November.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look and see who was on that email chain.
I did get it. I did look it over.
Okay.
And I talked about it with Christian as well. So,
New York Rural Water
Water,
Association. So in my opinion, you should get that report from
Yes.
Marie and give it to them instead of saying, yes, this is acceptable.
Yeah, use ours instead.
Use ours and say, this is acceptable. We've adopted this already, and allow them to review it and adopt that.
All right. Are you going to see Marie at all? But we'll either way, I want to see what they wrote.
I can.
Okay. Just have her
Um,
send us that also. She
You
has it
want,
on
you
file.
want her to send the report that New York Rural Water did to the board members?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And then we'll review their award, we'll compare it. That way we'll know it. Because that report listed a lot of out of our area, just a lot of our area stuff.
Yes.
A lot of counterwalkers, so.
Gibson.
Yeah.
Up on West Main Street. That's always the issue, is that you're imposing
Yes.
restrictions on something that's already existing.
Yes.
So, your restriction might say you can't have a gas station within 1,000 feet of the wellhead, and there's already a gas station existing within.
Right, but it also stops them from putting a used car lot there.
It
if
does.
It's already in the
It
board.
does. But the question for the past 30 years have been, how do you adopt the wellhead protections with overlay zone, with zoning restrictions when you have existing businesses in that?
Can't just long reach.
actually, if talking to Christian about that, the gas station that was there when they did propose an expansion were required to put a fence up at that 1,000-foot line so that they couldn't build and use that space for
It's not.
for a car lot.
You mean the one right next to it?
Yeah.
It's not 1,000. It's just the ownership. That was the 200 feet for the ownership.
Yeah, well,
Was that with a 200? Okay.
Correct. That's what that
200
was.
feet.
I'm just saying in general, I tried to pass wellhead protection codes in the town of Wappinger 30 years ago, and it was the same thing, that make overlay zones, and then they look within that zone and there's existing non-conformances.
Well, yeah, that's, anywhere in the country is going to have.
It was always hard to finalize the wellhead restrictions because of the existing non-conformances. Non-compliances.
Yeah, but I think John's right. You're going to see that everywhere. So you can adopt something for moving forward and understand that you've got anomalies in your pre-existing system, I think.
You could, but I think that what they found up here is that, everything is developed within that
Right, correct.
range.
Right.
I said you can't have cemeteries and you can't have, everything.
Gas stations, you can't have fuel
Right, we're
delivery.
already there.
All right. I'll have to take a look.
Yeah.
All right, the only thing I'm gonna need is, the only thing I haven't looked up is the negotiations that Matt did with the town of Wappinger and town of Poughkeepsie. What actually happened?
I talked to John about that.
You did, okay.
He's supposedly looking.
Okay, thank you. So that was the only real big loose ends I don't have.
Kevin, do you have any sense of whether, and it goes to what Pat's saying, and everything isn't going to be available, but I'm struggling with the transition of myself from a staff person to a board member. I've always had all the documents available to me. So if I wanted to go back and look at old minutes, old reports, so if I wanted to look at all 12 months of the operations reports or anything like that, I'd go to one place and they'd all be there. Is that something we have from an IT perspective, any capability of being able to do as board members?
Marie will have all.
Marie should have all, but Marie White.
I know Marie would have it physically in paper, but if I wanted to spend half an hour before the meeting and look back at a particular topic and the minutes and what was discussed over that time frame, I would rather not have to bother Marie and say, hey, by the way, can you tell me?
I don't know.
I'm aware.
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
No.
Okay. Are our minutes published online anywhere like the village board?
Maybe.
Okay.
But I have never really looked it up really. I mean, I've seen the like the zoning board, the village board has been on there. I'm not sure. I mean, it could be possibility that our minutes are on
Just the basic minutes.
on the village website.
Used to be, yeah.
All right. I'm going to talk to Jess this week and see what, from a financial standpoint, because I was not, they did not create for me the GL. So I don't have access to the financial information. It was Jess's understanding that I wasn't going to be provided access, that I would just tell her what reports I wanted and she would give them to me. So I've asked her for at least a year to date for 2020 with all the various GL lines broken out. But we did kind of indicate that she and I would talk this week to kind of give her a broad perspective of what I was looking for so I could see where we're at with the O&M expenditures, where we're at with, capital outlay and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, if you don't mind my talking to Jess, I'm perfectly happy to.
All right.
No, go
Yeah, knock your socks off.
Okay, I will give her a call. Thank you.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything else?
I don't think so, Pat.
Mary, do you have anything else?
I don't. Thank you.
Ever get a computer you were happy with, or?
That's what I'm working on right now. It was great, other than, that little fun episode we had before. But
Yeah.
like I said, I was kind of expecting a little bit more access, but that may just be me, like I said, transitioning from being a staff person to a board member. So I'm going to try and work and weasel my way in, as long as Well, because technically we're not just board members, we are staff. We're paid as staff. We're on the payroll for the village. So unless there's a restriction or Kevin has some concerns, I'd like to be able to have access to as much as possible to read and prep and, maybe prepare some other reports for the board if I, think it might be beneficial.
I have no issue, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
It's
no
up to you
issues.
mainly.
The only one who might have issues would be Jason. But I don't know.
I mean, it's better to me with like 14 years of data in my
Yeah.
closet, all on my shelves every freaking year. No, definitely.
All right. I'll let you know before I move forward with anything. I'll just do some investigation and I'll let you know what our options are.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Yeah.
Nope.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Second.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Thank you.
All right. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Go Bills. See my game? I almost died in the last 50 seconds. Another Hail Mary pass that would have cost them the game,
Yeah. Good for them.
All right. Take care. Goodbye.
Take care.
Take care now. Thank you, John.